Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's February. It's the 15th of February. It's 2017. I know it's not the 20th again. I know I screwed that up yesterday, but hey, it's the 15th today. It's Wednesday. We have 14 basketball games to talk about. Usually a three-man podcast, but just me and Notorious today. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. No SBK, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the fact that Valentine's is over, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. We got the All-Star break coming up. Life's pretty good right now.
Yeah, man. You know what we did on Valentine's Day? We car shopped.
Oh, that's nice. For you or her?
For me, yeah, that's what we did. And she planned like a picnic day, so we did like a picnic and went and seen manatees, and then we went and I test drove. I think I'm gonna buy a Charger. I think that's what I've set my mind on.
That's pretty cool. I need a new car too, actually.
Dude, it's the worst.
I'll be there soon.
It's the worst. But anyway, we have 14 games. No SBK, like you mentioned. He wussed out, called in sick, decided that, he needed to go out with his buddies because it's Valentine's Day and he's single. So no Target stories, no food updates. And it's probably going to save us a good 30 minutes. His rumbling and stuff. It's going to save us some time here.
Yeah, well, you can't blame SBK. Valentine's is like shooting fish in a barrel when you're single. So
it's no
judgment here.
I'm not judging him either. If we were single, we would be right there with him in Nashville. So it is what it is. Let's talk about this slate. Like I said, massive slate, lot to talk about. We're going to get started with Indy at Cleveland, 219 here. Cleveland favored by 6 in this game. Lavoy Allen, questionable. Thaddeus Young already ruled out for this game. Kevin Love already ruled out for this game. I think we also need to note that this is probably the worst slate of the year because there's so many teams that would give that guy an extra day off. So because of the All-Star break. So be very careful with your bankroll on this slate. I just wanted to say that before we got going here.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think anybody that's listed as questionable should probably be, considered closer to doubtful. There's no reason for any of these teams to play these guys, especially with the long break coming up. But yeah, like you mentioned, Lavoy Allen's questionable. He's not really a guy that, the Pacers are going to rely on long term. So, I mean, if he's able to go, they'll probably give him the start. But if not, going to look at Kevin Seraphin again. He'd probably see around 25 to 30 minutes if Allen's unable to suit up. And in terms of, fantasy point per minute production, he's a lot more productive than Allen is. So he'd be a viable punt once again. Jeff Teague dropped 50 on the Cavaliers last time they met up. Definitely a good spot for him again. Cavaliers ranked 28th against point guards. And they are playing in the second half of a back-to-back. Cleveland is. So pretty decent spot for the Pacers overall. And we should mention that it's only a 6-point spread. So the game should stay fairly close. You can also look at Paul George. He's averaged 41 fantasy points in his last 6 games against LeBron. He's definitely been the better point per dollar value of him and LeBron, in the last couple of years. So those are the 3 guys I'm looking at. Other than that, you can probably avoid the rest of the Pacers.
Yeah, LeBron defense has been awful. I'm a guy that hates on Paul George all the time, but I can definitely get behind that. Looking at the home team here, the Cavs, no Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving gets the biggest bump, plus 4% usage without Kevin Love and LeBron. With LeBron on the floor, so I like Kyrie here. His price is up there, but this is definitely a solid matchup for him. Where we really want to attack, a pace-up spot for Cleveland. Not much, but enough. We like point guards against them. Obviously, we like small forwards. Channing Frye, he just doesn't do a lot for me. I know he had a decent game on Tuesday night. What's your thoughts on Frye?
Man, so I played him on FanDuel, did pretty decent over there. I was deciding between him and Taj for my last pick over on DraftKings. Ended up going with Taj, and basically the difference between me having a great night and a mediocre night. But Frye is a guy that with Love out, he's averaging around 22 fantasy points a game this season. That number's probably going to go up after last night's game. So I'm fine with them, but at 5K, I think there's going to be better options in such a big slate.
Yeah, and people are going to chase that, 42 DK point game. So I think that on a 14-game slate, I'm going to stay away. Deep sleeper tournament play is Derek Williams. He's right around a point per minute right now with the Cavs. So decent spot here against Indy if they're wanting to give Fry a little bit of rest here on a back-to-back. Derek Williams, 3,300, extreme punt, boomer bust type play. Moving on, San Antonio at Orlando, 205.5 total here. San Antonio favored by 10.5. If the whole Orlando Magic staff does not get fired in this offseason, I'm officially done with this team. I'll start rooting for the worst team in the league. I don't care. It's just how you go out and you give up Oladipo and a first-round pick, probably in the 12 range, for Ibaka, and then you get Terrence Ross and a first pick from Toronto. Like, Derek, I'm not crazy, right? Like, that's just dumb.
Yeah, so they basically get Ross and a worst draft pick for Oladipo and Ibaka? Or is that?
No, it's just dumb.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So,
it's
as a Magic fan, I'm just my best friend texts me. He's like, this might be the worst move I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
I thought the Oladipo one was bad.
It's one thing if you're tanking to, improve your draft stock, but when you traded away that pick already, it's not really going to help you.
No, he's trying to save face, like get that first-round pick back. So really what you did was you traded Oladipo in a 10 to 12 pick for Terrence Ross and probably in the mid-20 range.
Hey, maybe Ross is just going to break out. You never know.
Whatever. And then you just stack your guards even more with Mario and those guys. Anyway, let's talk about this game. You got San Antonio here. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love San Antonio in games with double-digit spreads, but they have a high implied total of 108 points. Kawhi Leonard's pretty much been on fire ever since Pau Gasol went down with his injury. He's averaged 51 over his last 3 games, and he's still only 8,900 on DraftKings, so I like him over there. Probably a little too expensive on FanDuel. Tony Parker is really cheap, but not a guy that you really need to look at in such a big slate. Marcus Aldridge, haven't really been playing a lot of him lately. He's been fine, and he's only $6,300 on DraftKings if you want to, give him a look as a tournament flyer. Then Dwayne Dedmon, he's shown a lot of upside recently. He does lose minutes to David Lee when Lee plays well off the bench, but I still think you can look at him. Only 4,300 on FanDuel and 4,600 on DraftKings.
Revenge spot for him too.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and Orlando struggles against centers, so yeah.
Dedmon, not a terrible play here. For the Magic side, really, I'm going to be playing Aaron Gordon a lot when we get back from the All-Star break, but I'm not playing anybody from the Magic against the Spurs here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Gordon's going to be awesome moving forward, but probably not going to be playing him in this spot.
Yeah, he's only 46 on DK. Like, it's an interesting price tag. He gets that, with the dynamic pricing, but I'm just not playing anybody here. Like, I'm going to be playing Gordon a bunch when we get back because of the Ibaka trade. He should get a nice bump in usage, but it's just this isn't the spot.
Yeah. Is he in the slam dunk contest this year?
I don't know if he's still going to do it. Like, he's been dealing with that injury, so he was supposed to do it.
All right. So, yeah, I don't even know is anybody in it that's good because Levine's obviously not.
Aaron Gordon beat him last year, for what it's worth. Anyway.
Yeah, that was iffy.
I don't know, dude.
Should have given out a tie, I think.
One of the better dunk contests we've had in a long time, I will say that. Charlotte at Toronto, 213 total here. Toronto favored by 6.5. Charlotte's already ruled out Zeller. They've already ruled out Plumlee. Toronto has Patterson as questionable, but I would probably just rule him out as well. Old man getting the rest here before the All-Star break. You got Charlotte. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, not a great matchup overall, but with all the injuries to the front court, definitely got to like Frank Kaminsky and Marvin Williams. After they traded away Haas and Hibbert, they pretty much only have those 2 guys down low with Zeller and Plumlee out. So I think you can look at both of them. Kaminsky's price has come up quite a bit, but he's going to see minutes in the low to mid 30s, and I kind of like the matchup against Jonas Valanciunas, who isn't really that athletic. Can't really defend him on the perimeter. So I like the spot for Kaminsky. Marvin Williams, more of a tournament play. In terms of the guards, probably not going to look at Kemba or Batum. Batum's my favorite of the 2, but not really a guy that I consider a building block in this slate.
Yeah, and then, looking at the other side of this game, Toronto, they're hoping that Ibaka is going to play. Obviously, on DraftKings, they've already pretty much told you if you play Ibaka or Ross, you're going to get 0, so don't play those guys, even though they're, available to play. You're going to get zeros if you play them. Hey, guys, you're going to get zeros if you play them. I just wanted to make it clear. Outside of that, like, we like shooting guards against Charlotte. I'm not paying that price for DeRozan. He could be pissed off after getting ejected on Tuesday night, but I'm not paying that price for DeRozan. Lowry's priced where he should be. I'm not touching him. The one guy that I actually do like here from Toronto, if we do get news that Ibaka's not going to play, is DeMarre Carroll. Really cheap price tag. Threes against Charlotte has been, producing good fantasy points. The minutes have been solid for Carroll. And then on the other flip side of that, like, we could get news that Carroll could sit on a back-to-back right before the All-Star break. So, be careful with that. So adjust the news if that happens. I'm not crazy for not looking at DeRozan and Lowry, am I?
DeRozan's cheap on DraftKings, but I know you don't love him. Actually, it was Valentine's, so I didn't really check out any of the games. Tried to keep my phone off all night, and then
Smart
I just did the research for the away teams for this podcast. So I didn't even see that he got thrown out, even though I played him. What happened?
Oh, he just got ejected. I didn't see what happened. I saw it on Twitter.
Was it early?
I don't know.
Well, that sucks. I'm finding out about it now. Anyway, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Weren't you a little curious when you pulled up DeRozan and, saw 38 minutes, so it wasn't early?
Well, so I checked the scores like 6 minutes into the first quarter, and he had like -1 or something. And so I just figured he had down game after. But yeah, I guess he got thrown out. So
be very careful with Carroll, even though I just recommended him. He played 40 minutes on Tuesday.
Wow. Yeah, definitely got to be careful there. Maybe Norman Powell's going to be a nice sleeper off the bench.
Yeah, maybe a chalk guy. All right, let's move on. Dallas at Detroit, 201 total here. Detroit favored by 5 in this game. Andrew Bogut out. JJ Barea out. Both those guys going to sit out throughout the All-Star break here. We'll start with your team, Dallas. What you got?
Yeah, so when we have these big slates, we can typically cross off a couple games. I think this is one of those games.
Oh, yeah.
Both teams ranked in the bottom 7 in pace of play and in the top 7 in points allowed per game. Over-under, like you mentioned, really low, 201. Darren Williams is back, so that kind of takes the appeal away from Seth Curry and Yogi Ferrell. Wesley Matthews, a little too expensive for this slate. I think it's pretty much just an easy fade overall. Harrison Barnes was probably my favorite at 5,700, but definitely not, a top target in this big slate.
Yep, no reason to play this game, right? Like, there's just, we don't want to just skip over games, but Dallas allows the 5th fewest fantasy, or the 2nd fewest fantasy points. Detroit the 5th fewest. So, like, there's just not a lot of, options here. Like, the only place you really want to attack Dallas or Detroit is point guards, and you're just not playing Williams right now, and that it's a crowded situation. So I'm with you, my friend. I'm writing this game off unless we get some injury news where people are sitting or something. This is a game that I'm just not going to have a lot of exposure to, if any.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody on the Detroit side?
Nope. Dallas has been really good defensively this year. Like, they don't have a lot of offensive power, so they're kind of turning into this defensive team, and it's been working. They've been slowing teams down and just not working.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only play I'd maybe mention Andre Drummond, just because Mavericks are the worst rebounding team in the league, but that's about it.
Yeah, but you're starting to get up into that $7,600 range for center. I think that we're going to find that we got some massive games here that we're going to get to, and I just don't know if you can pay that much for Drummond tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Center's always a position that's devalued on DraftKings, so definitely a ton of plays I prefer over him.
Milwaukee at Brooklyn, 220 total here. Milwaukee favored by 5.5, which is not that big of a spread. As we know, Parker's out. Booker questionable. He's one of those other guys that I would probably put more on the doubtful side. Brooklyn's been really careful with these guys anyway. I'll let you start with Milwaukee here.
Yeah, I love the spot for Milwaukee. We know the Nets are a great team to target players against. They rank 1st in pace of play, last in points allowed per game, and like you mentioned, only a 5.5-point spread. So just huge upside for the Bucks overall. I think Giannis is going to be an awesome play. He's under 11K on both sides, and just terrific upside here. Nets are one of the worst teams in block shots allowed per game, rebounding differential, and they turn the ball over quite a bit. So, I mean, we could see, Giannis with, 3 or 4 steals, 3 or 4 blocks to go along with his rebounds, blocks, and our rebounds, assists, and points. So I definitely love him. Michael Beasley coming off that 40-point outing against the Pistons. His price is up, but I still like the matchup. I think you can still look at him. And then Greg Monroe, if he could face the Pistons every game, he'd be an MVP candidate for sure. Definitely still worth the look in tournaments at 5,400 on DraftKings. But the minutes aren't going to be there every night. We know that he's only averaging 22 on the season, so it's kind of a hefty price to pay for him in terms of cash games.
Greg Monroe, one of those spiteful guys. He wants that, big game against his old team as much as he possibly can, right?
I was so mad I didn't play him the other night. I wrote about him and the grind down, having his elite play, and then just didn't make the final cut.
All right, looking at the Brooklyn side, not a lot to love from this Brooklyn team. That whole guard situation is really crowded. They're, front court, the small forwards, it's a crowded situation. Hollis Jefferson, if we get news that Booker's out, I think you can roster him at 4K on DraftKings. Brook Lopez, 6,700. I'm going to talk about this guy every day for tournaments if he continues to be this cheap. He's a guy that has 40-point upside, and he's under 7K. So, I'm going to play Brook Lopez in tournaments every day. And then if we get news that Booker sits, Justin Hamilton gets a little bit of bump in minutes without Booker. More of a tournament play, very risky tournament play. That's really it for Brooklyn. I don't think you need to touch any of these guards, small forwards on this big slate outside of Hollis Jefferson.
Yeah, I agree on Lopez. Definitely like him at 6,700. But yeah, the Nets and the Lakers, two of the most frustrating teams. They're, two of the fastest paced teams, but nobody gets more than 30 minutes a game. They could be great fantasy targets, but they're just not because their rotations are just crazy.
Lakers have to be the most tilting team in the NBA. I don't know. They're back on this slate again tonight, and I'm going to extremely tilt when we get to that game just because they tilted me so much.
Yeah, I give up.
I see that price for D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle. I'm like, God, I have to play him. I have to play him. And they just go out, and Clarkson had a good game, and Larry Nance had a good game. It's just like
Lou Williams went off.
Yeah, whatever. All right, Philadelphia at Boston, 217 total here. Boston favored by 9.5. Embiid doubtful for this game. Okafor back with the team. He wasn't traveling because there was a lot of trade rumors there. Back with the team. We're going to put questionable on his name here. Jaylen Brown out, Avery Bradley out on the Boston side. We'll start with Philadelphia here.
Yeah, so I figure if they're going to try to trade Okafor, there's no reason to play him at this point. Teams are going to know what they're going to get with him, and there's no reason to risk an injury. But, we'll see. At this point, I consider him closer to doubtful than questionable. But he did rejoin the team, so definitely be on the lookout for an update there. If he's out, I love Nerlens Noel. We like bigs against the Celtics, and he's averaging 1.04 fantasy points per minute. And, with Embiid and Okafor out this season, he's averaging, 30 minutes a game. So definitely love him. Dario Saric off the bench has just been awesome. I definitely prefer him over Ersan Ilyasova. TJ McConnell, great matchup against Isaiah Thomas, who's the worst defender in the entire NBA. But I don't think you got to look that deep tonight. I think there's going to be so many good point guard options that you don't need to necessarily go to McConnell. And then Robert Covington, he's a guy that I like to play a lot just because of his steal and block upside, and he hits a lot of threes, but $6,400 is just a little too expensive for me.
I think Covington's an excellent tournament play, though. Anyway, did you mention McConnell?
Yeah, so he's got the best matchup of any player in the NBA. Isaiah Thomas, the worst DRPM in the league.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas is so bad defensively.
448 players. He's dead last.
Anyway, looking at the Boston side of things, mentioned Isaiah Thomas, $9,400 price tag. He really hasn't been getting there lately, but this is a price tag that I think I'm going to take advantage of here in this matchup against Philadelphia. Not a great defensive team as a whole. Al Horford, I think you would agree that I think he's a fine high floor type play here on this slate. You're looking at probably a 24 to 27 point floor for Al Horford here. Don't hate him in this spot. Marcus Smart should continue to play a bunch of minutes here with no Bradley and no Brown. I think that at 5,700, little risky there because he obviously can have really bad games from the floor. But I do think he has some upside at that price tag. And It wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't mention Kelly Olynyk. It wouldn't, but the guy's been doing really well lately. We look at it. The only issue that I have with Olynyk here is Ilyasova can actually go out and defend him on the three-point line. So I think Olynyk is a tournament play. Getting some usage here with no Jaylen Brown and Bradley, but still risky. And Siege would be mad if I didn't mention Gerald Green. Don't play that guy, but I have to mention him just because I don't want CJ to, message me here and like, why didn't you mention my boy Green?
Yeah.
I completely skipped somebody in Detroit. I don't want to piss people off again.
Oh man, you went on that rant the other night.
Oh man, dude,
it was deserved though. For sure.
I got 150 tweets the other night about KCP, and I'm sitting there going, guys, I played him too. Like,
yeah, that's the worst when they're just like, how could you recommend this guy? He's like, yeah, I'm with you. I played him.
I scored 298 points and got like 19, 20 points from two players combined. Like, come on. I felt the wrath. I felt the pain. Like, I was already mad. Anyway. Yeah. Miami at Houston, 222 total here. Houston favored by 9.5. Eric Gordon practiced on Tuesday with the intent to play on Wednesday, so he is still questionable. More on the probable side. Would not shock me if they sit him to get him more extended rest here before the break. Let you go with Miami here. I'm sure you got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so good matchup for them. Pace-up game. After their big winning streak, they have lost 2 games in a row. Dragic, he's one of my favorite guys when he has a good matchup. This is a revenge spot, but does draw the defense of Patrick Beverley, which I don't love. $7,200 is still a reasonable price, but probably only in tournaments. With Dion Waiters back, I don't really like Magruder or Wayne Ellington or Tyler Johnson, really, for that matter. And then Waiters is kind of expensive himself at $7,000 on DraftKings. For me, the top 2 plays here in the front court, James Johnson and Hassan Whiteside. Johnson's just been on a tear recently, averaging 36 over his last 3 games. And then Whiteside, we know the type of upside that he has. And he's typically a guy that goes overlooked just because he is pretty volatile most times, but definitely a good spot against the Rockets, who are ranked 28th against centers.
Yeah, I think Waiters is an excellent tournament play, though. The guy put up 19 shots against Orlando in his first game back the other night. So, like,
dude, $7,000 for Waiters. I would have never dreamed that would be possible.
I know, but if we look at it, man, like, he has that 45-plus point upside.
No, he does.
It's crazy, but if the guy's going to shoot the ball 19 times against Houston, like, even at 7K, like, even if he is Dion Waiters, I think he's in play for tournaments. I'll probably regret it, but he's in play, I think.
It kind of reminds me of Darren Collison last night, where he was 7,100 on DraftKings. Just, I mean, even with the current form, I just think the price is just a little too high for me.
Looking at the Houston side of things here, like you said, you got a Miami team that's going to get a pace bump. So obviously Houston going to, try to control the pace at home here. They do tend to run. Really, honestly, James Harden is priced right at 12-2. I'm not saying he's a terrible play. The guy's averaging 60 DK points a game this season. It's just insane. I don't think I'm going to go there today. Outside of that, Ariza's priced right, especially if we get news that Gordon's going to come back. Capella's interesting, but 5,700, like, his price is up, and we never know what the minutes are going to do. Like, honestly, really, I hate to say it in a game that has like a 222, total, but a lot of my exposure from this game is going to come from the Miami side.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Rockets have the highest implied total of the 24 teams that currently have implied totals, but they're priced up, so it's tough to find any spot. I mean, Harden's probably the best play here, but like you mentioned, Capella would be in a great spot, but 5,700 is a little too much.
Yeah, because he could go out and play 20 minutes, and you're going to need more than 20 minutes at 5,700. Like, I'd find the extra money for a guy like Brook Lopez if I was going to do something like that. Like, and then, like, I know Ariza's been really good lately, but with Gordon coming back, Ariza's minutes should go down a little bit. The shot attempt's probably going to go down a little bit as well. Like, I just can't pay for any of these guys.
Yep, I agree.
And then Ryan Anderson at home. Don't even get me started on that. But so, like, I'm not saying Harden's a bad play. I don't hate Beverly here at 5,600. I just think there's going to be better spots on this slate. And it's, like you said, it's crazy because they have the highest implied team total. But, I'm sure I'm sure Golden State to have that once we get a line for that game.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, I mean, I think there's going to be 5 or 6 guys at each position that are going to grade out as better values. So definitely just kind of a weird spot, but 14 games, there's going to be options at every position.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, New Orleans at Memphis, 205.5 total here. Memphis favored by 8. Terrence Jones and Dante Cunningham both ruled out for this game. I'll let you run with the New Orleans side.
And not a lot to love here. Memphis, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. They're playing at home, so they're going to control the pace. They're going to try to slow it down. New Orleans only has an implied total of 98.8 points, which is currently the 4th lowest of the teams that have a line right now. Pretty much not a lot to love here. DraftKings, is kind of trying to suck us in with their pricing on Jrue Holiday and Anthony Davis, but I don't think we need to look at either guy. Jens is probably going to start at power forward again. He's min salary if you want to, get super cute in a tournament, but not a lot to like here.
Yeah, and then looking at the Memphis side, I don't care what the DVP says about point guards. Jrue Holiday's been playing really good defense this season, so I don't like Conley here. Marc Gasol at 7,500 is probably one of the better plays at center tonight. He's definitely a guy that presents some upside in this matchup. He's averaging 55 DK points against New Orleans in 2 games this season, so I think Gasol – I think he honestly could be one of your core plays on this slate, and it's crazy for me to say that about a center because that's usually a position you want to spread out, but I think Gasol is just in an elite spot here. Zebo is interesting at 5,300. The minutes were down against Brooklyn last game, dealing a little bit with a sore foot, so you could probably save the extra money and go down to JaMychal Green at 4,300. His minutes have been all over the place as well. So really, maybe you just look at a guy like Gasol. I like Parsons. The minutes have been right at that 25-minute mark, but the price is starting to get to the point where you really have to start thinking about it. So I think I'll sit this one out on Parsons, and he'll probably burn me. But it's really it for me. I like Marc Gasol a lot in this game. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate.
Yeah, I agree on Gasol. Like you mentioned, Jrue Holiday's been playing awesome defense, so not really too interested in Mike Conley. And then Parsons, the minutes are going up. I think he played 17 minutes in the first half the other night, only ended up with 25. I think I'm with you. Just Gasol only. Everyone else, pretty easy fades in this game.
Yeah, all right. Man, we're agreeing way too much here today. We're rolling right through these games.
We can argue in the game portion of the show.
LA Lakers at Phoenix, 226.5 total here. Phoenix favored by 4. I am so happy that you have the Lakers here. So happy. Go right ahead. You tell me which coin to flip.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, they're just so frustrating. They play at a fast pace, and they have the greatest matchup, one of the greatest matchups possible in the Suns, who are, one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. But, if you can trust any of these guys, you're a bigger man than me. I just can't at this point. I mean, D'Angelo Russell has been awful in his last 4 games after coming off those 3 great games when he came back from injury. We pretty much have 10 guys playing 20-plus minutes for the Lakers right now. I just don't know what to do. Lou Williams is probably my favorite, but I'm not going to pay $5,800 for him in a 14-game slate. Jordan Clarkson's price is up. Julius Randle, we know how bad he's been. I mean, what do we do here?
I'm not playing any of them. Like the price is so interesting on Randle and Russell, and Lou Williams' price is too high. If you're gonna play anybody, take a tournament shot on like a Nick Young, because if he gets hot from 3, he can get to 25 fantasy points really fast.
I guarantee after burning everybody, Russell's just gonna have a monster game,
and he's gonna tilt me. But I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it.
No, I can't do it.
Love the Phoenix side, though. I think there's a ton of options. I think Bledsoe is, one of the better point guards on the entire slate. TJ Warren, I'm definitely going back to the well with him in this spot against the Lakers. PJ Tucker is interesting. Devin Booker, 7,200. He can put up a bunch of points here. Tyson Chandler, awful in his first game back, but played 28 minutes there. He's interesting at 5,400. I don't think I'll have a lot of him, but he's definitely interesting. That's really it. But if you think about it, I think their whole starting five is interesting in this spot.
The Suns are the worst too, man. I played Brandon Knight against the Rockets when he had 1 fantasy point, and then I
You
played
had to
TJ.
play him though.
Then I played TJ Warren a couple of nights ago when he had 2.6 fantasy points or whatever.
He was in a great spot too.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
like, in what universe does TJ Warren really go out and shoot 3 shots against New Orleans? Who predicts that? Nobody. Like, it was an excellent spot. Like, you just accept some losses sometimes. Like, he shot the ball 3 times. It's just he shot the ball 16 times against them a week before that. Like, I'm overlooking that. I'm going right back to the well here.
Yeah, I agree. No biases. But Eric Bledsoe, I really wish he was cheaper. He was $7,200 2 games ago, $7,700 last game, and now he's $86. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind all these guys, but they are priced up. I think Bledsoe is probably my favorite play. And is Tyson Chandler playing?
Yeah, he came back and he played 28 minutes.
I don't know why he's not listed as a probable starter, but all right.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, but yeah, he expected to play here.
All right, cool.
Minnesota at Denver. No line in this game because, all right, Stevenson's doubtful on the Minnesota side. I'll say that. And then on the Denver side, Wilson Chandler questionable. Darrell Arthur ruled out. Fareed ruled out. Gallinari ruled out. Moutier questionable. All right, hold on. Got to catch my breath. Take a drink. You have Minnesota here, and I can do that real quick.
Yeah, at least I have the easier side of the two to break down. Yeah, Ricky Rubio's been playing well since Zach LaVine went down with his injury. He averages, something like 0.15 fantasy points per minute more with LaVine off the floor. So I think you can look at him, probably more of a FanDuel play than DraftKings play. Andrew Wiggins has also seen a nice bump in fantasy production with LaVine out, averaging 45 over his last 3 games. Karl Anthony Towns had 59 against the Nuggets in his last game, and I love watching him and Jokic go at it. So those are probably the 3 on my radar. I never seem to get the gorgeous dong right. For every reason, I'm always on the wrong side of him, so I'll probably be avoiding him in this spot.
Hey, one thing I did recommend yesterday in my Roto World article was Wiggins is one of my favorite plays, and he lit it up.
Yeah, 41, right? Actual points.
Yeah, he lit it up against LeBron. But LeBron threw. Did you see that pass LeBron had?
No,
you were out a lot.
I didn't watch anything, man.
All right, well, do yourself a favor. Go to my Twitter, and I retweeted it. So make sure you check that out before you go to bed.
All right, I will.
It was a dirty, dirty pass. The Denver side, it really depends on a lot of news. If Moutier's out, I think Jameer Nelson, even at 6K, is in play. If Chandler's out, I think you just absolutely lock and load Will Barton and Hernan Gomez. Dude, he made me that was the reason that I was so tilted the other night. He had 298 points with freaking those guys. I had Hernan Gomez on like 60% of my teams.
He's brothers with Willie, right?
I would think so. Like
they kind of look alike, and
like the last names, like kind of. Anyway, so we're not a common last name for what I know, but Will Barton 7,300 is pricey. But if Chandler's out, we saw it against Golden State. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. He's going to play a ton of minutes. The guy has massive upside. He can get really hot from the 3-point line. I like him here. Jokic's price is 10-3, but he gets the matchup with one of the worst defensive centers in the league with Cat. I think he's still a guy you lock and load and you continue to play. He's been so good. No Arthur, no Fareed. Like, Jokic is a guy we just continue to ride, right?
Yeah, they have no bigs right now. They're forced to play him a bunch of minutes, although Mason Plumlee is going to be playing, right?
Did they say he was going to play? Right? He is supposed to play, right?
I think him and Nurkic are going to play. Probably not going to play a ton of minutes. So, I mean, I still love Jokic. He's scored at least 59 in 2 of his last 3 games. Like you mentioned, great matchup there. And he's one of my favorite players to watch. So, definitely going to have a ton of him. Like you mentioned, Barton's in a good spot. Jameer's in a good spot. But if you're playing on both FanDuel and DraftKings, all these guys are cheaper on FanDuel with the exception of Jokic. So, definitely something worth monitoring.
Yeah, make sure you guys are getting exposure to Denver. Expect this line to be really high, don't you?
Oh yeah, it should be great. Plus Wolves in a back-to-back, which typically is bad for their defense. So yeah, I expect this to be a high-scoring game.
Oh, Cat's not going to be able to stop Jokic. Oh, man, it's going to be great to watch.
It's going to be fun.
Portland at Utah, 204.5 total here. Utah favored by 8.5. Aminu doubtful. Evan Turner ruled out, obviously. I'll let you tack Portland here.
Yeah, so like we mentioned, it should be the debut of Nurkic. Who knows how many minutes he's going to play? Probably not enough to be considered in DFS. And it doesn't help that they have a matchup against the Jazz, who are the worst or the best defense in the NBA. Probably not a lot to like here. Lillard coming off that bad game the other night. He's a little too expensive for me against the Jazz. You could maybe look at Ed Davis. He played well. Maybe Maurice Harkless with Aminu out, but I think it's a pretty easy spot to fade overall.
Yeah, unless we get news that Nurkic is going to play, 25 plus minutes, and you almost have to, take a shot on him at 3,900.
Yeah, he's a talented young guy. I'm excited to see what he can do, but the Blazers don't really play their bigs that many minutes to begin with, so. Yeah,
not a spot you really want to attack, with them playing Utah. Utah's matchup here, power forward, centers, really good matchup here against Portland. That's not going to really change now that Plumlee's gone. Their defense is probably still going to struggle. Rudy Gobert is interesting at 74, but the price is too much. It's too close to Marc Gasol. It's 100% Gasol over Gobert for me. Do you think this is an interesting spot for Gobert? Hayward's price is right at 7,300. Really, the exposure for me on Utah would probably come from George Hill, and it's probably going to be minimal. Derek Favors is 5,100. It's the last game before the All-Star break. He's either going to, see decent minutes here. They're going to kind of limit him to those 24 to 26, what we've seen over the last, 4 games. Another spot that I just don't love, and you should love it because it's, a spot that you should attack, but like, in what universe do you play Rudy Gobert over Marc Gasol in this spot?
Yeah, I agree with you. We did see Dwight Howard go nuts against the Portland Bigs the other night. So I do like Gobert's rebounding upside. $7,400, like I mentioned, too close to Marc Gasol, but you could always play both if you want to. He's really the only guy on my radar here. George Hill's been really bad lately.
Really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so disappointing. Even the Jazz as a whole, I think they've lost 3 in a row. So hopefully they take care of business at home, but probably not a ton of exposure for me.
Yeah, the only problem with playing Gobert and Gasol, then you can't play Jokic.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to these last 3 games. I think we're going to like some plays here. We got New York at Oklahoma City, 218.5 total here. Oklahoma City favored by 7. I saw a report that they were going to hold Noah out, right?
Yeah, I think not expected to play. So
yeah,
if Willie Hernangomez gets a start, you may be able to start both Hernan Gomez's. That would be pretty cool.
Another issue with that is he's a center too.
Yeah, but I mean at 5K, he's been awesome in the starting lineup. So yeah, I probably prefer him over Gobert. Be close with him and Marc Gasol, but yeah, I definitely think he's going to be in play. Steven Adams is a tough matchup, but just keep your eye on the starting lineups there. Porzingis has played well, averaging 35 in his last 3 games. Only 6,500, which is a good price. Like him in tournaments. Carmelo Anthony probably going to draw the defense of Andre Roberson, which isn't great, but $7,600. It's at least worth looking at. Probably not going to play Rose or Jennings at point guard. Yeah, and that's about it on the Knicks side.
Yeah, I don't really, have much to add there. So looking at the Oklahoma City side here, I love attacking point guards against Rose. It's just you get that price tag on Westbrook, and you're like, man, that price tag is insane. But then it's Russell Westbrook. It's a game against New York. Like, he went for 75 in Madison Square Garden earlier this season. So, like, the upside's definitely there for Westbrook. It's going to be really about, lineup construction, which, we're not doing at, 1:45 in the morning. So, like, it's going to be more of, does value open up with this game, with this slate being right before All-Star break? Do we get some people ruled out? That's what you're going to really have to pay attention to. I do like Steven Adams in this spot. I think this is a really good spot to attack Steven Adams. The minutes were down against Washington because they got blown out the other night. I think this is a nice bounce back spot. Problem is, he's a center. Fantasy draft, man. Maybe fantasy draft is the site you play today. You can play 5 centers.
Oh, dude, I love Adams too. 5,900. He's been playing, minutes in the mid to upper 30s with Cantor out. So yeah, definitely love him too. Westbrook, I do prefer him over Harden. If you have the money to pay up for one of those two, it's going to be tough to do on DraftKings. But yeah, I think both those guys are in great spots against the Knicks.
Roberson, can you go back to the well after the 0?
Dude, I just don't play him ever.
Okay,
I'm fine with losing or winning because of him.
And you're not really going to lose or you're not really going to win with him either. Like, he's going to have like a 40-point game and get 10x for you to win with him.
Oh, yeah.
And then Oladipo, I don't mind him in the spot. Courtney Lee defense has not been great this season, so I don't hate that.
Yeah, shooting guards against the Knicks.
Shooting guards against the Knicks. Atlanta at LAC taking on the Clippers. 213 total here. LAC favored by 2.5. Cephalosha questionable on the Atlanta side. What are we looking at for the Hawks?
So we think of the Clippers as a pretty good defensive team, but the Hawks have an implied total that's slightly higher than their season average. So if you want to look at Dennis Schroeder in tournaments, Clippers have really struggled against point guards with Chris Paul out. Definitely too expensive in cash games, but Tim Hardaway also worth a look. He's been on fire, and with Thabo Sefolosha questionable, kind of expect them to sit him just because, like we mentioned, the All-Star break's coming up. No real reason to risk another injury there. Dwight Howard coming off that 50 fantasy point outing against the Blazers. You can look at him at 7,100. He may see a couple extra minutes having to guard DeAndre Jordan down low. Probably not going to be on Paul Millsap. I know he's been on a tear, but his price is up to 7,900 on DraftKings. And Blake Griffin, just tough matchup overall.
It's a tough matchup flip side there, too. Like Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, tough defender. Like, I think it's a good spot to, look at the guards. Austin Rivers' price is finally where we can play him at 5,100. Jamal Crawford coming off a bad game. I think he can turn back to those two guys. I think that's where I'm going to get a lot of my Clippers exposure here in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Those are probably my favorite two guys. But, yeah, I probably won't have a ton of exposure to anybody here just because there's going to be so many high-scoring games that I'd rather target.
Yeah, the one thing that I like about Austin Rivers is he's shooting guard eligible. So 5,100 in the spot, I think that I can play him more at shooting guard here.
Yeah, shooting guard eligible is always nice, and you get extra point guard in your lineup.
That is true. Don't give out all the trade secrets. No, I'm just kidding. We talk about that on the show probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Sacramento at Golden State, last game of the night. Man, 14 games done, over. Here we go. Lawson is questionable, probably more on the doubtful side. Caspi, they've already said they've ruled him out for this game. Klay Thompson, questionable. If he's even feeling any slight of pain, I think he sits. And then Livingston, questionable. He wasn't with the team for personal reasons, so we'll have to see if we get an update around after shoot-around on him. I'll let you start with Sacramento here on a back-to-back.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. For a 14-game slate, there are a lot of games that I'm not that interested in, this being one of them. I expect this game to get ugly quickly. Not only are the Kings playing in the second half of a back-to-back, but the Warriors coming off that big blowout loss to the Nuggets. So I expect them to be, really motivated, wanting to go into the All-Star break on a big win. So, yeah, I'm just not loving a ton here. Darren Collison is priced way up. He's been awesome without Lawson, but $6,900 for him is too much. Cousins, you can look at him in a game stack maybe. The game's going to stay close. We know Cousins is going to have a big game. But other than that, I'm just not too interested here.
Hey, another thing in my Roto World article was build your lineups around Cousins. So,
he was awesome.
That's I got a couple things right. There was some duds in that for sure. The Lakers, man. God, I would have had such a big night if the Lakers guys decided they wanted to show up tonight. But anyway, looking at the Golden State side, obviously these guys they're all priced right. Like Durant, 9,700, Curry, 9,600, Green, 7,500. If Thompson's out, it's still kind of tough, because that Denver game was such an outlier. Like, Golden State's going to come out pissed off in this game, and this game's just not going to stay close. So that's the issue. what can those guys really get you upside wise in 3 quarters? It's what you have to ask yourself here, because that's pretty much what it's going to look at. If I'm playing anybody, if we get news that Clay's out, I'll probably look at Curry, but that's really it. I've been playing Andre Iguodala a lot lately. I don't really love him in blowout games. I really do think this game's going to turn into an absolute blowout.
Yeah, I agree. And how frustrating was that the other night? I mean, they even cut it to 9 points in the fourth quarter. I think Draymond Green said his shoes were untied. Didn't even think about going back in the game. Steph Curry was 1 for 87 or something. It was bad.
I thought it was like 1 for 150.
Yeah, he makes half his shots and they win by 10, I think.
He was 1 for 11 from 3-point line. Denver it was fun to watch. I don't know if you watched it, but like Denver just couldn't miss.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. Dude, they're going to be good. They're going to be real good.
I'm telling you, they got a lot of young talent on that team. So, it's – man, 14 games. 14 games is tough, guys. I will say 14 games is tough. So,
yeah, I can't wait to write the grind down tomorrow. So excited.
Dude, that's brutal. Oh, man. And it's an all-star break slate. Again, guys, before we get into our game, it's the last big slate before the all-star break. It is one of the freakiest slates of the year. Just be careful with your bankroll management. I know it's 14 games and you want to get action before the all-star break. It's not even, honestly, it's not even a bad slate to just take it off.
Yeah, that, and if you are playing, make sure you're glued to your computer right up until lineup's locked. There's going to be a ton of injury news that's going to break. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if just even some of these superstars just get rested for no reason, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, if we start seeing these Vegas lines move or something, like, I would not be shocked either. I'm with you. It's just one of those slates that I have something that I have to do tomorrow afternoon. If I don't get back in time, it's just going to be, all right, I'm fine with just taking it off. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I would if the all-star break wasn't coming up. Got to get that last little.
Listen, Derek, there's NASCAR on Saturday, okay? You can get your fix. You play golf.
Yeah, I got golf.
NASCAR, just saying. All right, let's get into the plays. I went first last week, so you're going to go first this week because SBK decided he wanted to go out with his buddies instead of work. 6x, 7x using DraftKings scoring, over 8K, under 5x, and then our 3K crapper that we feel like can go 7x, but usually very risky. And on a 14-game slate, probably not playing any of these 3K guys today. I will say that.
Yeah. All right. I will start. Let's go. A lot of good plays at center. I'm going to go with Marc Gasol 6x.
Yeah, Vito.
All right.
I'll use it the first time. I don't care. Like, that's the guy I had written down for 6x too. I'm not looking at it.
All right. Brook Lopez 6x.
I'll let you have it. Well, I can't really say anything now. So, all right. Let's see here. I'm going to go 7x TJ Warren.
All right. He had like a 0.1x the other night.
That's right. And I live and die by my plays. And then 6x, I'm going to go a little bit risky here because I don't know the injury news, but I'm going to go Hernangomez 6x.
Which one?
Denver.
All right. I'll go the other Hernangomez for 7x.
I got to write down, make sure I get the right ones. All right. And then you got your dud. Who's going to bust?
All right.
This one's tough. It's tough today.
Yeah. Let's see. It's less than 5.
Less than 5x, over 8K.
I'll go Anthony Davis.
All right. I'm going to go. I just think this team's going to blow out the Magic. I'm going to go Kawhi. I just don't think he's going to have to play big minutes.
Yeah, probably won't.
All right, you got your 3X guy ready? Lock and loaded?
Are we doing absolute minimum 3?
3X today. It's 14 games. There's a few guys down there.
Has Nate been getting minutes lately?
Is he really down to 3x finally? 3
Yeah.
3K?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with him. They might need him against
Who,
Whiteside.
Nate?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go Monte Eunice.
All right.
Just going to get minutes with Jones and Cunningham already ruled out, so I'll take a shot. Anyway, that's it, man. Valentine's Day, 14 games. Hey, look at that. 14th day, 14 games. Hope you and the wifey had fun. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
And we got through 14 games in like 50 minutes, way faster than 10 games with SBK just blabbering us.
I know, like, man, like the guy rambles so much.
Just talking about Target and
what kind of food. Like, we all know Publix is the GOAT. Why are you going to Target still, bro?
Oh.
Well, yeah. Hopefully our boy got lucky. If he's not gonna show up to the podcast, hopefully he had some fun tonight. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. I had to watch 50 Shades of Grey, so
I had to watch This Is Us. So I feel you, bro.
Hey, dude, This Is Us is good.
I like that show.
I love that show, actually.
I love that show too. So
you watch it every night before the podcast. Actually, that's kind of funny.
That's hilarious. We watched it before the podcast too. All right, my friend.
50 Shades, that's for sure.
All-Star break time. So we get a little bit of a break here from basketball. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the very, very small slate. Maybe we'll talk some NASCAR or something. That's going to do it for Notorious. I'm Stevie TPFL. Good luck in your contest tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.